The crash in the sky was not normal. That night, dark clouds rolled above the forest. Thunder growled like an angry beast. John Carter stood at the edge of his cabin's porch, holding a mug of black coffee. He lived alone deep in the woods, far from people, far from trouble. He liked it that way. But trouble didn't ask for permission. Suddenly, a bright light cut through the sky. It was fast to be a plane. A fireball, glowing red and orange, raced across the night like a comet. Then came the sound. Boom! The ground shook. Birds flew into the air, screaming. John's eyes widened. He dropped his coffee. That wasn't thunder, he said quietly. He grabbed his jacket, flashlight, and shotgun. He didn't know why, but something inside told him to go. The forest was quiet, but not peaceful. The air felt heavy. Trees were broken, and smoke filled the night. John followed the trail of burned branches and fire. After 20 minutes of walking, he saw it. A crashed ship. It was a big, maybe the size of a van, but it was nothing made by humans. It was black metal, shaped like a sharp arrow. Glowing blue lights blinked weakly on its side. Strange symbols were written across the surface. And then he heard a sound, a cry, soft, like someone in pain. John moved closer, heart pounding. Behind the ship, half buried under broken trees and metal, was someone. He stopped. It looked like a girl. She was human, almost. Pale skin, glowing faintly blue. Long silver hair, tangled and wet. Her eyes fluttered open silver like starlight. Her body was covered in cuts and strange burns. She looked at John. She was afraid. He raised his hands. Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you. She didn't speak. Maybe she could in single quotes t. Suddenly, there was a flash in the trees. A red laser scanned the ground, sweeping side to side. Drones. Military. They had seen the crash too. No time. John muttered. He dropped his shotgun, bent down, and lifted the alien girl into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, but shaking badly. As he carried her, she grabbed his arm. Her hand was warm, almost a warm. Then she whispered one word. Kashera. He didn't understand, but the way she said it like a prayer made his skin crawl. Back at his cabin, John placed her on the couch. He wrapped her in a blanket and gave her water. She was weak, barely able to drink. She opened her hand and showed him something, a small glowing chip with spinning lights. She pressed it to the table. A hologram appeared, a planet, Earth. Then another planet, then a red mark over Earth. What does this mean? John asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed a pen and paper. Her hand shook, but she drew something, a symbol. It looked like an eye, crying. Then she passed out. John stared at the drawing. Something was very wrong. This wasn't just a crash. This was a warning. Outside, something beeped. A drone hovered nearby, scanning the trees. It clicked, zoomed in. Inside, John looked down at the girl. Her skin was glowing again, but brighter now, like her body was charging up. John whispered, "What the hell are you?" The drone moved closer. John turned off all the lights and held his breath. The girl's eyes suddenly opened wide and she whispered, "They're coming." The girl who came from the Star's cabin was silent. John sat beside the glowing girl, shotgun across his lap, eyes locked on the window. The military drone had moved on, for now, but he knew they'd come back with boots, guns, and questions. The girl slept, but not peacefully. She twitched, whispered things in her strange alien language. Her skin flickered with light every time she moved, like her body wasn't just flesh, but energy. John stood, ran a hand through his hair, and looked around his small cabin. He had food for a week, ammo for maybe 2 fights. No clue what she was, where she came from, or what the hell he was supposed to do now. He turned to her. "All right, Starlight, time to wake up." He gently touched her shoulder. Her eyes snapped open, silver and shining like moons. She sat up, fast, looking around, breathing hard. She didn't know where she was. "You're safe," John said quickly, raising his hands. "You crashed. I carried you here. You were hurt." She blinked, then whispered, "You saved me." John nodded. "Yeah, I guess I did." She looked down at her hands, then back at him. "Why?" That question hit hard. John paused. He didn't have a good answer. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was guilt from wars he tried to forget. Or maybe he just couldn't leave someone behind again. He shrugged. Didn't feel right to walk away. Later that night, She sat by the fire, wrapped in a blanket, holding the glowing chip again. She pressed it, and another hologram rose from her palm. John watched in awe. The map showed the solar system, Earth in the middle. Around it were red circles, blinking slowly. Symbols floated above them. What are those? John asked. The girl pointed. Harvest zones. Harvest? What are they harvesting? She looked down. Life, blood, DNA, memory. John's face turned cold. You mean people? She nodded. Her name was Luma. She came from a planet called Cyrus, far beyond any known star map. Her people were scientists, explorers. They watched planets from afar, never interfered until Earth. Someone had broken the rules. A ship from Earth had fired on Luma's team first. The crash wasn't an accident. It was a warning, a message. Stay away. Luma barely escaped. Her ship was damaged. Her team was gone. John couldn't believe it. Earth attacked first. But then again, he'd seen how governments work. Shoot first. Ask later. You said harvest zones. Who's doing that? Us? He asked. No, she whispered. Them. She pointed at another mark on the hologram. A red triangle. Sharp, pulsing, Carthan. She said the name like it hurt her throat. Like the word itself was poison. They come for planets with weak defense. They take everything. And they always follow the same pattern. First they study, then they send spies, then soldiers. And Earth is next. John asked. Luma looked at him, eyes full of sorrow. It already began. That night, John couldn't sleep. He stepped outside to clear his head. The forest looked peaceful, but it was fake. The peace was just silence before a storm. As he looked at the stars, something moved behind the trees. Snap. He spun, gun raised. Nothing. But he could feel it. Watching, breathing, waiting. Suddenly, a sharp ping echoed in his ear. A high-pitched frequency, the same noise the drone made earlier, but this was lower, like it was scanning something deeper. He ran back inside. Luma was awake, sitting up straight, her body glowing more than before. Luma, are you okay? She looked at him, terrified. They know. They found me. John's heart sank. What do we do? She pointed at the fireplace. Destroy the chip. They track it. Without hesitation, John grabbed the glowing chip and threw it into the fire. It sparked, cracked, and vanished into ash. But then Luma winced. She grabbed her stomach, groaning in pain. Luma, she fell to her knees, trembling. John rushed to her side. What's happening? Are you hurt? She looked up at him, sweat on her face. Something's wrong. Inside me. He helped her onto the couch. Tell me what's happening. What did they do to you? She whispered. Not them. You. John froze. What? She touched his hand. Her fingers glowed, and suddenly he saw it. Visions. A flash of the crash, her body broken. Him lifting her through fire. Their skin touched. Blood. Light. Fusion. You. Healed me. But more. Our cells. Connected. He pulled back, stunned. Wait. What are you saying? She said the words slowly. I'm carrying your child. The room went silent. John stumbled back. That's not possible. We didn't. We never. She nodded. My kind doesn't need union like yours. We bond through survival, through life-saving touch. When death is near and someone saves us, our body takes part of them. John sat down, speechless. So, you're saying our DNA mixed? Yes, she said. And now, it grows inside me, a child of Earth and Cyrus. He didn't know what to feel. Shock, fear, wonder. Then Luma whispered one more thing. That's why they're coming. He looked up. They want the child. Outside the cabin, the wind howled. But this time, it wasn't wind. A distant hum filled the air, deep and mechanical. In the sky. A ship appeared, black, long, silent. No lights. No signal, but watching, waiting. John stood in the doorway. And for the first time in years, he felt truly afraid. Asterisk hunted by shadows. Forest was no longer safe. It watched. It listened. It remembered. John woke to a sound, soft, almost gentle. A buzz, like a mosquito near the ear. But it wasn't a mosquito. It was something worse. A drone. He looked out the window. Nothing, just trees and fog. But he knew it was out there. Luma was still asleep on the couch. She looked peaceful. But John knew better now. Inside her, a hybrid child was growing. Part alien, part human. A child that shouldn't exist. A child that someone wanted. Badly. He stared at her for a long moment. How the hell did this happen? He hadn't planned on being a father, especially not like this. Not to a child with glowing DNA and enemies from the stars. And yet, he felt something strange. Not fear, not anger. Responsibility. She had trusted him with her life. Now, it was 3 lives on the line. Hers, his, and something unborn, but already being hunted. By morning, John had packed the essentials, weapons, food, maps. He knew what was coming. He'd seen war. He'd seen how soldiers search. First drones, then boots, then bombs. They had to leave. Now. But before they could go, Luma stopped him. Wait, she said softly. She placed her glowing hand on the wooden floor, eyes closing. A soft hum filled the air. Light shimmered under her skin. The floor beneath her glowed. Symbols appeared, like alien script carved by light itself. John stepped back. What is that? She whispered. Memory stone, old Cyrus tech. It saves truth. If we don't make it, others must know what happened. The floor absorbed the light, then dimmed. The symbols vanished. He nodded. Okay, now we run. They left the cabin behind. No roads, only forest, hills, shadows, and silence. For hours, they walked. John carried the pack. Luma moved slowly, holding her stomach. Every few minutes, she'd stop, eyes glowing, sensing the air. They're getting closer, she said. Once, voice shaking. He didn't ask how she knew. He trusted her now. By nightfall, they reached an old ranger station deep in the woods. Empty, dusty, long abandoned. John kicked open the door, cleared the rooms, then locked them in. Luma sat on a broken chair, breathing hard. You okay? John asked. She nodded. I'm just changing. He didn't like the sound of that. Changing how? She looked at him with glowing eyes. My body isn't just carrying the child. It's preparing for it. Adapting to Earth's air, food, gravity, the baby. It's accelerating it. Accelerating. She placed his hand on her stomach. He felt a faint kick. John froze. Holy SH. It grows fast, she said, because it knows we don't have time. That night, the shadows arrived. The forest grew quiet. The wind died. No owls. No insects, just the soft rustle of trees, and then footsteps, not boots, claws. John looked through the window. Something moved between the trees, tall, thin, no face, black armor that shimmered like oil, a red eye in the middle of his head, scanning the ground. KRTHON hunter, not a machine, not fully alive either, built to track, capture, and erase. Luma saw it too. Her hands shook. That's a seeker, she whispered. They don't speak. They don't stop. Once they smell your DNA, they hunt forever. Great, John muttered. So we're dealing with alien bloodhounds. He checked his ammo. Not enough. The seeker walked past the window, paused, and sniffed the air. Then it turned toward the station. Luma grabbed John's arm. We have to go now. But the seeker was already breaking in. John fired the rounds, direct hits, but the thing barely flinched. It moved like smoke, crawling through the walls, shifting between shadows like they were doors. They ran. Out the back, into the trees, over rocks and fallen logs. The forest blurred past them. Behind them, the seeker gave chase. Fast, silent, unstoppable. Luma cried out, not in pain, but warning. Another seeker stepped out ahead. They were surrounded. John turned, ready to fight. Stay behind me. But before he could fire, a new light cut through the trees. Bright, white-blue. A flash, a whistle, then dash boom. The seeker exploded in midair. From the smoke stepped someone else. A figure, humanoid, armored in silver plates, eyes glowing yellow. John, Carter, it said in a deep, calm voice. And Luma, I've been sent to help. John blinked. Who the hell are you? I'm not from your world. The figure replied, but I fight against the Carthan. We've been tracking this child since the spark began. John raised his weapon. You tracking to help or to kill? The figure tilted its head. To protect. Your child may be the only one who can stop what's coming. Luma stepped forward. What do you mean? The figure pointed upward. There. Not just sending seekers anymore. The mothership is moving. John's blood ran cold. What mothership? The figure looked at the stars. The one that ends worlds. Astra's secrets in her blood cave was cold. Not the kind of cold that touched the skin. The kind that crept into your bones. Echoes of dripping water filled the silence. Strange roots grew along the stone walls. Glowing faintly green dot, it wasn't just a cave. It was a hiding place, and possibly a tomb. John stared at the silver-armored figure who saved them hours ago. The man, or whatever he was, had not removed his helmet, but his voice was clear, calm, and not entirely human. "My name," the stranger said, "is Rian. I was born on a colony destroyed by the Carthan. I fight them from the shadows now. You are not the only survivors." Luma sat nearby, her hands glowing as she traced strange patterns in the dirt. Her face looked tired, but focused. John could see the energy pulsing under her skin now, light moving through her veins. She wasn't just glowing anymore. She was changing. Rian studied her carefully. "She's entering phase 3, he said. "Phase 3 of what?" John asked, stepping closer. "The transformation," Rian said. "Her species is adaptive, but when their biology bonds with another, things happen. Rare things, dangerous things." "You're talking about the baby," John said. "No," Rian replied. "I'm talking about her." John knelt beside Luma. "What's happening to you?" Luma looked at him, her eyes flickering with light. "My blood is rewriting itself. The baby's DNA is reshaping mine. It's trying to make me survive. But I wasn't meant to carry something like this." John felt helpless. "What do you need?" She looked at him for a long time, then quietly said, "The truth." John blinked. "What truth?" "You touched me when I was dying. You saved me. But there's more to it, isn't there? You healed me to fast." John hesitated, then finally said, "I've been different since the war." Years ago, John was a soldier in a Black Ops unit. They didn't follow orders. They followed missions buried under lies. One of those missions led him to a research base in Alaska. An alien artifact had been discovered, a stone that glowed like a star. The scientists who touched it got sick. John didn't. They said he was immune. But after that, he changed. He could heal faster, sense danger. Sometimes he saw images that weren't his own. He thought it was PTSD. Now he wasn't so sure. Luma touched his hand. "That's why our DNA fused. You weren't fully human anymore." John looked at Rian. "You knew, didn't you?" Rian nodded. "That artifact was a seed, ancient tech from before the Carthan Empire. Only a few humans can bond with it. You're one of them, that child growing inside her. It's not just hybrid." He paused. "It's evolution." Suddenly, Luma gasped, her back arched, her body glowing so bright it lit up the cave. John rushed to her. "Luma." She was shaking, whispering things in her language. Then, her eyes rolled back, and the child spoke through her not in words. In thought, John heard a voice inside his head. "They are coming. They smell me. I am not ready, but I will be." The glow faded. Luma collapsed into his arms, unconscious. Rian looked grim. That wasn't Luma. That was the child. "It's aware." John's hands shook. "It's not even born yet." "No," Rian said, "but it knows its purpose. It knows it must survive." And the Carthan, they're getting desperate. Suddenly, a blast shook the cave. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling. Dust filled the air. John jumped up. "They found us." Rian pulled out a silver blade from his armor. No, this wasn't the Carthan. Footsteps echoed down the cave tunnel. 3 figures appeared. Humans. Black armor, red visors. Military-grade tech. John narrowed his eyes. "Special forces," Rian whispered. "No, worse. Black site retrieval unit. The ones who clean up alien messes by killing everyone involved." One of the soldiers spoke through a voice filter. "Target acquired. The female. The child. Terminate the male." John raised his gun. "Over my dead body." The soldier nodded. "As you wish." Gunfire exploded. John dove, firing back. Rian moved like a blur, slicing through one of the soldiers. Sparks flew. Luma woke up, screaming, and as she did, the entire cave shook. Rocks floated. Glowing roots lit up like lightning. Luma stood, eyes pure white, and screamed. The sound wasn't loud. It was deep. It made blood vibrate. The soldiers collapsed, clutching their heads. One started bleeding from the nose. Another's visor cracked. Rian stared in awe. "That's the child's defense instinct." John grabbed Luma. "We have to go now." They ran through the tunnels, deeper into the unknown. Behind them, the cave collapsed. Outside, dawn was breaking, but it didn't feel like a new day. The sky was filled with strange clouds, triangular patterns, like ships hiding behind light. Rian looked up. They're not waiting anymore. John looked at Luma, then at the sky. Then neither are we. Asterisk, the air of all sky split open. Above the clouds, a silent shadow grew, massive, triangular, and impossibly slow, like a mountain falling from the stars. But it wasn't falling down, it was watching. Hovering above Earth's atmosphere was a Carthan mothership, the same one Rian had warned them about, the size of a city, blacker than night, covered in red runes that glowed like bleeding scars. And it had arrived for one reason. The child. John stared at it from the hilltop, hands clenched into fists. Luma stood beside him, pale and weak, her skin flickering with light. The child inside her was growing, faster than any human baby, too fast. Her voice shook. It started. Rian checked the device on his wrist. It beeped a deep, slow pulse. The Carthan ship is entering planetary lock mode. They're scanning everything. They know you're alive. John turned to him. Can they track the child directly? Rian nodded. They don't need satellites. The child's energy, it's like a star trying to be born. John looked back up at the sky. Then, they're not just here for her. Rian said nothing, because they were here for Earth. Asterisk hours later, deep in a hidden underground base, one not built by the government, but something older, John, Luma, and Rian gathered with the last resistance fighters, humans, aliens, hybrids, survivors. The place was carved out of stone and metal, walls etched with alien markings. It had no name, only purpose. It was Earth's last secret. A tall woman in military black greeted John. John Carter, she said. I'm Commander Vera. You're late. Asterisk. John looked around. Didn't know we were expected. She pointed at Luma. You weren't. She was. Rian stepped forward. This is not the time for politics. It's always time for politics, Vera said, especially when the galaxy wants to erase us. Inside the war room, a hologram of Earth flickered to life. Above it, the mothership loomed. Vera spoke coldly. We've intercepted Carthan communications. They're not here to destroy us. Not yet. They want the child, and they've given us 72 hours. Or what? John asked. They'd unleash the Harvest Protocol. Every city, every brain, every drop of DNA turned into dust. Luma trembled. They've done it before, Rian said. 100 planets, no survivors. Back in their quarters, John sat beside Luma as she lay down, sweat on her face, eyes half glowing. I'm scared, she whispered. He brushed her hair back. Me too. She looked into his eyes. I feel it thinking inside me, not like a baby, like something older, smarter. John's throat tightened. Is it dangerous? I don't know, she said. But it's not just mine anymore. It's ours, and it's awake. That night, the child dreamed, and everyone near it heard. Screams, fire, stars dying, a voice repeating one word in every language. Choose. John woke up gasping, nose bleeding. Rian stormed in. The child just sent a signal, not to the Carthan, to something else, something older than them. What does it want? John asked. Rian looked pale, and he wasn't even human. It wants to survive, and it's deciding who gets to survive with it. Suddenly, alarms. Outside, in the underground hallway, Vera's voice shouted through the speakers. We're under attack. Carthan ground units. They found us. Explosions rocked the walls. John grabbed his gun. We're not ready. Rian drew his blade. We'll never be ready, but we fight anyway. Luma struggled to stand. Her whole body was glowing now, almost hard to look at. Leave me, she said. Take the child. John stared at her. Not happening. She smiled sadly. That we fight together. The tunnels filled with fire. Carthan foot soldiers, black armored, faceless, poured in like a tide of death. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. They killed with precision. But this time, humanity didn't back down. Asterisk, the resistance fought like cornered wolves. And in the chaos, Luma began to float, inches off the ground. Light poured from her mouth, her eyes, her chest. She wasn't just changing. She was becoming Dot in the middle of the battle. Something impossible happened. The light around Luma split. It formed a shape, small, glowing, hovering in the air beside her, a child, not fully formed, not flesh yet, but energy, conscious, alive. Dot. It looked at John. He heard it in his mind. You are my beginning. Then it screamed. The sound shattered every Carthan. In the room, their armor cracked. Their tech died. They dropped, twitching like broken toys. The child turned to John again. But I don't know who I am. And then it vanished, back into Luma's body, and she collapsed, silent. After the battle, the survivors gathered in shock. What was that? Vera asked. John just stared at the ceiling, his hands shaking. It's not just a baby, he said. It's a weapon, a mind, a message, a beginning. Rian nodded slowly, and if we don't guide it right, it'll choose to survive without us. Outside, the Carthan ship began to move. Vera's voice cracked over the radio. They've started the descent. No more warnings. No more time. John looked at the others. Then we bring the fight to them. Asterisk war beneath the star sky was on fire. The Carthan mothership had finally descended into Earth's lower orbit. Like a god descending from the stars, black and glowing red. Its surface pulsing like a beating heart. Its arrival blocked the sun. Cities below fell into a strange eclipse. Satellites stopped transmitting. Radio signals went dead. And across every military frequency, one simple message played on repeat: surrender the child, or burn. Deep underground, inside Earth's last resistant space, tension burned like a fuse. Luma was on a medical table, surrounded by glowing alien tech. Her body had entered a stasis-like coma. The energy inside her was too much. Her pulse was fading, and the child inside her was awake. It moved without moving. It spoke without sound. Its thoughts echoed across the minds of everyone nearby. John could hear it like it was standing behind him. I am born of survival. I am the next. He turned to Rian. What does that mean? The next what? Rian stared at the monitors. A new species, a new kind of life. One that doesn't need ships to fly or weapons to destroy. John frowned. Sounds like a god or a monster, Rian replied. Commander Vera barged into the room. We're out of time. We're launching the final attack in 20 minutes. You and Rian are on the assault team. John stood at Luma. Vera hesitated. We can't bring her. She won't survive the trip. John shook his head. If we leave her, they'll find her. She's dying. John. He clenched his fists. Not while I'm breathing. Asterisk outside. The battlefield stretched across broken deserts and shattered cities. Resistance fighters, human and alien, assembled near the launch site. 5 stolen ships. One shot, they would fly directly into the Carthan mothership. Not around, not under. Through. John stood with Rian and a small squad, suited up, holding a photo of Luma in his pocket. Just before launch, Vera handed him a small metal capsule. What's this? He asked. A failsafe. If the child becomes hostile, if it takes over Luma, you use it. He stared at the device. One press, and it would vaporize everything within 5 meters. He didn't answer. Asterisk launch. The ship screamed into the sky, racing toward the mothership like arrows of fire. Lasers sliced through the air. One ship exploded mid-flight. Another crashed before it reached the target, but John's ship broke through. Inside the mothership, it was worse than they imagined. Living walls, pulsing corridors. The ship wasn't built. It was grown. Screams echoed through the metal as if the ship remembered pain. Rian muttered, "We're walking through a creature's brain." John said nothing. He could feel the child pulsing inside Luma. Even from this distance. It was calling to the ship. Asterisk. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Luma's eyes fluttered open. Her skin was no longer glowing. It was cracking. Energy leaked from her body in slow waves. Alarms went off as her vitals dropped. But her mouth moved. One word. John. Inside the mothership, John and Rian reached the core. A massive chamber, filled with pods. Each pod held a life form. Frozen, twisted, genetically harvested. This is what they do, Rian whispered. They erase planets and steal their futures. Suddenly, the voice of the Carthan leader boomed through the chamber. It wasn't a voice. It was pressure, vibration, thought that forced itself into the mind. You brought the father, but not the child. John looked around. It is inside her, dying. Your mistake, Asterisk. Rian shouted. It's not dying. It's choosing. The room pulsed red. Then it will die with you. The floor split open. A massive beast rose from the pit, metal fused with flesh, eyes covering its body, teeth like knives. John fired everything he had. It wasn't enough. Rian screamed, use the capsule. John looked down at the failsafe. His thumb hovered. But then, stop. Everyone froze. The beast stopped mid-lunge. The lights in the mothership dimmed. And in the center of the chamber, Luma appeared. Not the real Luma, a projection, glowing, floating. Her eyes white hot. John stared in awe. How bastards she gave herself to me. The child said through her, "Now I choose, outside." On Earth, Luma's body vanished into light. A column of energy shot into the sky, straight into the mothership. The child had left her body. Inside the core, the beast crumbled into dust. The ship shuddered. Red lights turned white. "Asterisk, I am not a weapon," the child said. "I am not a savior. I am survival, and I have decided." The pods across the ship cracked open. One by one, the Carthan clones collapsed into ash. The ship began to tear itself apart. John and Rian ran. Explosions rocked the walls. Debris flew. Alarms screamed Dot as they reached the escape pod. John turned back one last time. He didn't see the child, but he felt it Dot, and it whispered, "Goodbye, Father." Asterisk, they landed back on Earth, just as the Carthan mothership exploded above the clouds, raining harmless light into the sky like stars falling in reverse. Everyone watched in silence. The war was over, but the price was high. Luma was gone. In the days that followed, the world tried to explain what happened. Governments gave fake stories. The sky was a storm. The lights were a weather event. The missing cities were evacuated. But John knew the truth, and he never stopped waiting. Asterisk, then, one night, years later, John stood alone at the edge of a lake, and something shimmered in the sky, a glowing shape, small, bright Dot. It floated down silently, and in the center, a figure stepped forward. Dot, small Dot, young Dot, eyes glowing with stars. The child, Asterisk, born of two worlds, child, returned in silence. It floated down from the night sky like a falling star, leaving a trail of light so soft that the air itself seemed to hold its breath. John Carter stood by the lake, older now, his beard gray, his eyes tired. He hadn't fought in years, but he had never stopped waiting. Dot, and now, the moment was real. Dot, the child, no longer a baby, no longer unborn, stood on the water's edge, small, barefoot, eyes like galaxies, hair silver like Luma's, and a voice, not spoken, but felt. "I am here, Father." John dropped to one knee. He couldn't speak. For the first time in years, he cried. The child stepped forward and gently touched John's face. "You gave me life. You gave me choice. I came back because I chose you." John held them tightly. "I never stopped hoping." The child looked up at the stars. "Hope is how you survived, but now you must do more." 2 hours later, location, government facilities. That steel doors slammed open. The child stood in the center of a sterile white lab. Guards pointed weapons. Scientists gasped. Politicians screamed into calms. And John Carter, very calm, said, "Nobody touches them." But Earth's leaders didn't see a child. They saw power. They saw what the Carthan wanted, what they feared, what could shift the balance of everything, and they wanted to control it. The president's voice crackled through the speaker. "Bring the asset in. Begin containment procedures." Rian appeared beside John, older, scarred, still armored. He whispered, "This will end badly." John smiled grimly. "Only if we let them." A general stepped forward. "We don't want to hurt you," he said to the child. The child tilted their head. "You don't understand me. You understand fear." They raised a hand, not in violence, but peace, and the walls melted. Dot, not with heat, with truth. Everyone in the room saw flashes of the harvest worlds, the lives lost, the children taken, the Carthan's crimes, the galaxies that burned. Then they saw Earth. Dot, not destroyed, not enslaved. Dot, chosen. "You are flawed, violent, but you fight for those you love," the child said. "That is why I returned, because I am both of you, and more." Suddenly, alarms blared. Satellites had picked up a new object in deep space. Dot, massive. Dot, unknown, moving fast. Vera's voice echoed through the base. "We've got incoming. This one's different, bigger than Carthan tech, possibly older." The child turned to John. "They heard me. Something heard me." Flashback, years ago, during the Carthan collapse, when the Carthan mothership died. The child's scream went beyond the galaxy. Dot, far beyond. Dot, to the deep black, where things older than war, older than stars, wait in silence. Something heard that scream, something that remembers when the universe was still soft and young, and now it was coming. Back in the present, panic spread across Earth. The United Nations was in chaos. The military prepared nukes, space weapons, last-ditch plans. And John Carter stood before them all and said, "You want to fight the next enemy? Start by listening to the one who saved you from the last one." The child stepped up beside him and spoke to the world. "I am not your God. I am not your enemy. I am your mirror. The part of you that evolves, the part of you that survives. But to survive what comes next, you must become more than what you were. Suddenly, the skies above Earth rippled. Stars shifted, and then stopped. Every telescope on Earth saw it. A ship, a world the size of Jupiter. Not Carthan, not known, just ancient. And awake, the child looked up, silent for a moment. Then whispered to John, "They are not here for war. They are here to decide if you are ready." John looked at the glowing sky. "And if we're not?" The child turned, glowing from within. "Then I will stand between them and you." Final scene. 1 week later, the world had changed. The sky held a new star that never moved. Borders grew quieter. Nations hesitated to argue. Something about seeing the child living proof of survival, evolution, and hope had shaken humanity. And John, he built a home again. Not in the woods this time, but on the edge of the stars. A place where humans and aliens could meet, learn, plan. A place where the child could grow. One night, as they sat together watching the sky, the child looked at him and said, "You once asked what I am." John smiled. "I remember. I am not the future. I am the test." John raised an eyebrow. "Test for what?" The child stood, eyes shining. "To see if your kind deserves one."